Hi, third graders. Today we are jumping ahead to lesson 10. So make sure that you have your lesson 10 problem set. It does say that you need a 2-inch square. We're not going to use a 2-inch square. So basically, you just need your problem set. You need your pencil. You will need, it says that we're going to be using a red and a blue crayon. So if you can grab a red and a blue crayon, colored pencil, highlighter, something like that, and at the very least, at least have two different colored um, crayons or colored pencils, okay? All right, so we're going to be kind of jumping around on this lesson as well. We're not going to do every single part of this. Okay, so our I can statement for today says I can decompose, and remember, decompose means to break apart quadrilaterals to understand perimeter as the boundary of a shape. Really, what we're doing today is we're focusing on perimeter. We're learning what perimeter is. So perimeter is the distance around the outside of a shape. Okay. So if you think of a whiteboard, if we want to find the perimeter of the whiteboard in a classroom, we would measure the outside of that whiteboard and then we would add all the sides up. We could use like a yardstick or a ruler or a measuring tape, and we would find what each side equals, and then we would add up all the sides. Um, if we wanted to find the perimeter of your bedroom, we would measure the outside of your bedroom, and then we would add up all the add up all the sides. We could find the perimeter of your door, right? We could measure each side, the four sides of the door, and add those all together. So perimeter is the boundary or the outside of a shape. When we worked on area not too long ago, area was finding the area of the inside of the shape, which is the opposite of perimeter because perimeter is outside. So we're just going to kind of be doing a couple basic things today to get us to kind of learn about the idea of what perimeter is. Alrighty, so that's today, perimeter. So this says to use a 2-inch square. Nope. Trace the square in the space below with a red crayon. So basically, take your red crayon or colored pencil. I have a red pen that works too, and we're just going to make a square. I'm not worried about any measurement because that doesn't really matter here. Okay, so that's the perimeter, that's the outside. Okay, and then it says we're gonna skip, and then D says to color the inside of the shape in problem 1 with a blue crayon. So now you're going to take your blue crayon, and I'm just going to use this blue highlighter and just kind of shade in a little bit the inside of this. Okay. So your outside should be red. And again, if you absolutely don't have a red and a blue crayon or colored pencil or marker, you can use two different colors. Just make sure that they're definitely different because we want to be able to see the difference here between the outside of your shape and the inside. So I'm just going to darken this a little bit. So once we have this set up, you have your two different colors, this is going to show us the difference between area and perimeter. Okay, so area is the inside of the shape. So if I knew, let's say that my side lengths were, well, let's see, what have we got here if I do measure it? Not quite 2, but let's just pretend that each side length is 2 inches and 2 inches. Because if I'm going to find the area, I would multiply 2 times 2, and that would give me an area of 4. But the area is the inside of the shape. Now, perimeter is the outside of the shape. So I would add up 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2, and that would be 8 inches. So the inside would be 4 square inches because that was if I fill up these with the inside with squares, that would be 4 square inches, but the outside would be 8 inches all the way around. So that's what we're looking at. So if I'm looking at the red, and we can draw these arrows too with your red crayon or colored pencil or whatever color you use to trace around the outside, that is your perimeter. Okay, and perimeter is the distance, we'll underline it so we know that's our definition, the distance around the outside of an object or of an area, of a room, of a door, of a bulletin board. You can find the perimeter of anything that you're finding the outside distance around. Okay. And then we already know area. We've worked on area. So we can draw, I'm going to use my blue. So you can use your blue crayon, colored pencil, or marker, and then draw an area arrow to the inside, and that is the area. And we've done area. So area is how many square units it takes to fill up the inside. Remember, area is square units. So if each of these is, we'll pretend that these are 1 square unit, so the area would be 4 square units, right? And 4 is different when I say 4 square units. That's not 4 inches, right? It's 4 squares basically to fill up the inside. So perimeter is the distance just around the outside, not having anything to do with the inside. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn the page. That's all we're doing on the front. Okay, and we are going to cross out, okay, well, here we go. What color represents the perimeter of the shape? So what color represents the perimeter? If I look, the perimeter is red. Okay. And it says, how do you know? Well, it's the distance around the outside. Make sure you're writing with me. So which color represents the perimeter of the shape? How do you know? Red. And then we said it's the color around the outside. And we're going to double underline outside because that's the big thing with perimeter. It's a distance around the outside of the shape. Okay. So which color represents the perimeters of the shape? How do you know? And then we said red because it's the distance around the outside of the shape. And then it says, what does the other color represent and how do you know? So the other color is blue. So what does the blue represent? It represents the area of the shape. So we'll say blue, and then we'll say it represents, or well, yeah, we'll say it represents the area, and then we'll say inside of the shape. So that's the biggest thing, boys and girls, that we want to remember is the area is the inside, and then perimeter is the outside, right? So perimeter is the outside of the shape, and the area is the inside of the shape. Whenever we were working with area, we were finding out how many square units would fill up the inside of that shape, and perimeter is a distance around the outside. All right, we're going to cross off G because we didn't do 2 shapes. Okay. And then 2A says to outline the perimeter of the shapes below with a red crayon. So now you need your red crayon, colored pencil, marker, whatever it is. And again, if you didn't have red, then just use whatever color you used on the other side. So if we want to outline the perimeter, what would we outline? The outside or the inside? The outside, right? So go ahead and trace the outside of each shape red. It's going to kind of go a little bit darker because the pen isn't as thick as a crayon or something if you were using a crayon. So all of these, if we want the perimeter, we're just tracing the outside of that shape. I'm not even worried about measurements or anything like that. Right now, we're just getting the concept that the perimeter is the outside of the shape. Okay? Explain how you know you outline the perimeters of the shapes above. How do we know we outline the perimeters of the shape? Because it's the outside of the shape. So we outlined the outside of the shape. And again, we can double underline outline or outside. Um, so we know that the perimeter is the distance around the outside of the sheet. Okay. And once you're done with that, question number 3 says to outline the perimeter of this piece of paper with a highlighter. So we can even just use our pens or our fingers for that, pretend that we're outlining the perimeter of the paper. So the perimeter of the paper just means the outside of this paper, right? So if we take our finger, we can drag it down the outside of this side all the way down, and then it would go across the bottom all the way, and then across this side all the way up to the top, and then across the top. So we would trace with our finger the 4 sides of this paper on the outside. Okay, so that's perimeter on the outside of the paper. The inside, if I wanted to find the area of the inside, I would be finding out how many square units it would take to fill up the inside of the paper. But the difference with perimeter is that it's the outside. That's why we kept double underlining outside. And that's it. That's it for today. So kind of a quick little fun lesson on perimeter. So tomorrow we'll dig a little bit deeper in perimeter, but for today we were just recognizing that perimeter is a distance around the outside of the shape. Good job, and I'll see you tomorrow for some more math.